you know about chess boxing, right?
Nope.
Okay, it's the greatest sport.
Not a single clue.
So, you play, like, 15, 20 seconds of chess, and then you do, like, a 30-second round of boxing. And you alternate until someone is either checkmated or knocked the fuck out.
No, you're messing with me right now. That's not real.
No, this is real. There's a Wu-Tang song about it.
No.
The Mystery of Chess Boxing.
What?
Dude,
There's... What?
See, it's great because it's all about divergent strategy, because you have people who are like brainiacs who are like, I'm gonna get him in the chess and be really defensive in boxing, and then you have boxers who are like, I don't know dick about chess, but like, I'm about to end this man's whole career.
Oh my god.
Or you get the savants who are like boxers who know everything about chess, and they're just like, they're downright electable, like with that skill set, honestly. A championship chess boxer? I'd vote for that.
I don't understand if you know how much you floored me right now, because I cannot believe that there is a sport that is just alternating between chess and boxing.
It's riveting. Because they feed into each other. The more your adrenaline gets pumping and you get punched in the face from the boxing, how is your decision-making in chess affected? Cooler heads prevail. But, like, also, if you're focusing too much on chess and trying to remember what your next move is, like, are you just going to get clocked with a stiff jab?
I'm like...
I think we peaked as a species when we decided that we were going to do this, you know?
I just, like, who was, like... And also, not to mention, if we decided that we wanted to take chess and boxing and put them together in one sport, why haven't we done that with everything else? Like, why haven't we been like, you know what sounds really good? It's a swim meet, but after you swim a lap, you have to get out and solve a Sudoku puzzle. And then you have to... Now
we're talking. Ooh, I like this.
You can be a real fast swimmer, but if you don't know where the numbers go, then you're not going to win the swim match.
It's tic-tac-toe. Or no, Connect 4, but you have to hit targets with archery.
Oh, okay. That would frustrate me so much because I'm so good at Connect 4, but I have awful aim. So... Like, I'll kill some Connect 4. I'll destroy my opponent in Connect 4. But I can't hit no dartboard. None of that.
Okay, you have to do a 1 mile run while solving 2 Rubik's Cubes.
Ooh. Can you solve a Rubik's Cube?
No, not even a little.
I also can't solve. I can do, like, fun patterns on Rubik's Cubes. Like, if it's already solved, I can, like, make it be a checkerboard, or I can, like, make it be a little flower and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot solve a Rubik's Cube. My dad can solve a Rubik's Cube. He used to be in, like one of those, like, under 60-second clubs or whatever.
Oh, dang. But I wonder if he could do it in under a minute with former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson in his prime.
Oh my god. You know this full well that I love the concept of any standard game, but you make it faster.
I'm familiar.
And now we're like completely like we're going all the way. We're like, you thought Bananagrams was hard. Now it's Bananagram, but when you say peel, you have to like run an obstacle course.
Oh, dude, I'd play Ninja Warrior Bananagrams any day of the week.
That honestly sounds like super fun, especially if it's one of those inflatable like obstacle courses where you get to go down a big slide at the end. I love those. We love Big Slide. I love a big slide. Big slide's so fun. Like, how can you hate a big slide?
Speaking of great things that go great together.
Yeah.
What about bean juice and constitutional monarchy?
I can see it. I can see it. Yeah.
like a coffee prince almost.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go for like a red bean milk tea emperor.
Now that's a name. Red bean milk tea emperor.
I had to think really hard about what else could be bean juice. I was like, I'm only on coffee, and then I was like, red bean, that's a thing. And then you can have like red bean flavor, like tea, like milk tea.
Dude, the red bean milk tea emperor. It's just a man who had to dress as a woman to work in an all-female coffee shop.
Oh my god. That sounds so fun. I'm so down. I'm so down for the reverse.
Oh, man. Well, we have to finish this show first so we can get on with making red bean milk tea emperor.
Yeah. For now, we gotta finish up Coffee Prince. So, we are on episode 13 of Coffee Prince. We are chugging our way down the Coffee Prince lane. But before we watch episode 13, Jaren, what do you think is gonna happen this time?
God, I feel like we've been going hard on the main plot for so long that we need to kind of take a breather and have a more side plot heavy episode. Like, if Grandma shows up, I feel like that's a great diversion. I feel like maybe we're gonna get something with Hangul's birth father. I feel like that would be really nice to like.
Yeah.
Because once you have like this romantic attachment secured in this character's life, in this case, I feel like it's really nice for the audience, and me especially, just to see them dealing with external problems as a unit for once, instead of being each other's problem.
Yeah, that's true. We have transitioned, or hopefully we've transitioned from the our problem is the other person, and now we can look at problems together.
Oh my god, and then like New York is in like a month or something, like
surprise.
Gosh, wouldn't it be great if we just cut to a month from now next episode and it's like we're in New York and now we have a chain of coffee princes.
Oh my gosh. Aw, that'd be cute.
It would be.
Well, who knows what'll happen on Coffee Prince? We gotta watch to find out. Anything could happen. Absolutely anything. Hangul could die.
Don't.
Who knows?
You knows.
Anything can happen. Who knows?
If he even ends up in the hospital, I'm gonna be so pissed.
We gotta watch to find out. Here we go. Episode 13. Let's keep it clean.
Ooh.
Thank you. Do you have one?
God. Episode 13. Milk tea red bean emperor.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Golly.
Hey guys, I'm Kara, and I like rom-coms.
Hey guys, I'm Jaren, and I like sorting Reddit threads by controversial.
Oh my god. Oh, but there is one thing that we both like, and it's hot drinks and hot boys.
And this is just kiss already.
Just like, come, seriously?
Do it. So, did you ever have like a detective come into your kindergarten and like teach you about crime solving technique?
What? No, all we ever had in elementary school was like the police came and they told us don't join a gang, and we were like, and they didn't even do a good job because they showed us like gang signs and they were like, these are bad, but all we saw was like, how can I make my hands do that? And then at recess we were all like making the blood sign with our hands.
Everyone.
And our teachers were like, no.
Everyone in school was like, hey dude, look, I'm in a gang. Like,
because they were like, oh, don't join a gang, and also here's this like cool thing you can do with your hands, and we were like, that's sick.
Like, I think if you teach too young, it has the opposite effect, because if you go to a group of people who are children and say, hey, these people wear different color shirts and they fight each other, and then these kids look down, they're like, oh, well, I've got like this nice yellow shirt on, and Timmy's like, got his green shirt. Like, oh, it's on. Like.
Oh, man. But you had a detective come and talk about crime solving? That's sick.
Yeah, he was kind of a dick about it because he, like, set us up.
Oh.
He basically entrapped us, and what happened was he put, like, this can in front of the room, like one of those cans with the peel-off lid, and he was like, hey, there's money in this can, so I'm gonna turn off the lights and everybody put your heads down, and then, like, somebody come take this money. So I went up there and I wanted to take the money, so I took it, and I, like, put it in my desk, and then he's like, all right, now we're gonna find out who took the money, and I'm like, that wasn't part of the deal, detective. So he took out, like, fingerprint kits and had everybody take their little fingerprints, And then he was like, okay, but like, what if you don't have them at home? You can take some coffee grounds and some tape, and you put your fingerprint on the tape, and then you put it in the coffee grounds, and then you can ID somebody by their coffee prints.
Damn. Oh, shit. I was like, in my head being like, I wonder how he's gonna tie this into coffee prints. And I, not for a single second, like, saw this coming. It took me a second to process, because you said it, and I was like, oh. Damn, that was good.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit proud of that one.
You should be. That was a very good one.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. But while the detective was wrong to do that to children, Jaren is right. We're back, and we just watched episode 13 of Coffee Prince. Ooh, boy.
It was a good episode. Probably the most accurate my predictions ever been.
Yeah, actually.
I do want to, because there was a lot of competition for like this episode title. So I wanted to
really?
It was really close between two options, and I want to just get them both out now. And
okay, so we can all vote on our phones?
Yeah, I'll sort of let America decide. And
sick. Am I America?
Yes, you are America, you are my world,
yeah. Wait,
you are
no,
everything.
I'm actually... Oh, I like the world part. I don't really want to be America.
Okay, fair.
All right.
So... The first title that I came up with was You're Adopted, Charlie Brown, and I don't know how that one grabs you.
Wait,
so...
how? Hold on. I get it, but also I'm like, Charlie Brown, but that's CB. So is CB adopted?
You're right. That means we have to go with the alternate title, which was...
What's the alternate title?
Harim explains the birds and the bee stings.
Ooh, wait, okay. I feel like title number 2 is more accurate, but title number 1 has a pretty good ring to it. And so I'm like,
Gosh.
What do you think?
Let's workshop it live. Do you think we should change it to, You're Adopted, Hangul? Or... Because when you don't have the context of it being like, you're a blockhead, Charlie Brown, it just kind of seems like a cruel statement of fact.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There was a part of me that was like, what if we just like mashed the two together and it's like,
you're a bee. All right, we did it. This episode 13 title is You Are a Bee. Spelled entirely in letters.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. Okay, I'll write that down. Write that down. All right, episode 13. You are a bee. Wow, that's gonna be so sick. I can't wait for people to read that and be like, what? And then they listen and they're like, what?
Yeah, context provides nothing in this context.
Yeah, it's really, there's no helping you. It's just Arab, and you have to live with it.
You're a bee.
You're a bee. You're a bee. You're a bee. You're a bee.
Oh, dude.
Remember that song?
You know, this came out in 2007, right? So we're right around peak Fergie Black Eyed Peas era.
Peak P.
We're in the Fergalicious definition.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. Wow. Things all have to be good if that's the case.
And things are good because we open on Unchan just being cute as hell. Just doing chemistry science with the coffee, checking that temperature.
She's making coffee and she's like having a really good time. Like she's obviously very much enjoying this process. She's very much enjoying just like making coffee.
This has come up a couple times before where, because when we meet Unchan, obviously she sort of has this idea that she's going to have a dojo and be like a taekwondo instructor. And as she's worked at Coffee Prince, she's really started to enjoy that. We've seen Hangul is actually like, I would say investing in her training would be a generous way to put it, when he kind of passive aggressively bought her all those mags and it was like, you gotta learn this.
He did also do they used to do the coffee sniff game.
Oh god, that was fun. Remember when her super sniffer powers were, like, relevant to the plot?
Yeah, remember when they were, like, super relevant, and then they disappeared, and then they reappeared so they could talk about this game they play, and then they just disappeared again.
I really hope that, well, I mean, if she could smell, like, depression, maybe, she'd be able to sniff out the plot, but I can't wait for them to show up again.
To be fair, like in life, that does kind of happen. Like, things become relevant, and then, like, you don't think about them for a while, and then you're like, oh, yeah. So
Damn.
I will not hold that against any series ever. As much as people love to, like, be like, oh, well, like, this thing was only relevant when it was relevant. It's like, well, that tends to be how it works.
Oh, yeah. If it made me happy, I don't care how long it's in the show for. I care that it exists.
Yeah, I agree. But Un-chan is making coffee, she's having a great time, and Hong-gil is like, go on a date with me. And Un-chan is like, what? And he's like, I want to go on a date. And Un-chan is like, that's so great. How about all of these great date options? And Hong-gil is like, no, I don't want any of those. And Un-chan is like, all right, well, great. Then what do you want to fucking do? And he's like, come over to my house. And she's like, okay.
Oh, yeah. It's made all the better by the fact that he's wearing this vest from the Baby Gap that, like, just barely fits him. So he's got, like, his chest puffed out, and he's like, go on a date with me! We're dating! And she's like, no, I gotta study.
Yeah, she's like, I have to study. I'm very serious about my career as a barista. And Hong-gil is like, please date me. Please. So they have a little back and forth about that. And he's like, come over to my house and we can watch a movie because I don't want to be around people at all. And then, like, Mr. Hong walks by and he's like, kids, oh, look at them. They used to be mad and now they're not. And it's like, wow.
Mr. Hong of the eternally wet hands. Because I feel like every time he enters a scene, he's just wiping them on his clothes.
Oh my gosh. Either his hands are eternally wet or he has to go to the bathroom like every minute.
Oh. That might be like close to the truth. I think he's probably the oldest character.
Oh, well. Anyway, then we cut to CB and Unsei, and CB has like become her manager / servant. He's just like following her around with a chair and like he's wearing sunglasses.
It's confoundingly frustrating because this is the coolest he's ever looked. He's got like 3 buttons undone. He's got the shades, but he's also just like lugging around this foldable chair and umbrella and like waiting hand and foot on her. And the whole time I'm like, you don't need this.
Yeah. They go to all these places, like they stop by a little like food stall that's selling like fish cakes and like rice cake, I like spicy rice cakes, I'm pretty sure. And he's like dunking them in water to like wash off the sauce and then like giving them to her, and she like storms away and makes him pay after like spitting out the food. And they go to a store and she's like she's testing all the nail polish on his toenails. And it's just like, can we like not be so mean to anyone, really? Can we not treat people like this?
This is I would probably say the closest we've had to an Unsei episode, because she gets a lot of good beats in this, but damn, they do set it up by having her just like, God,
oh yeah, they
I don't even know a word for it. It's stronger than manipulate, because he wants to be doing it himself. She just like exploits CB.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like part of me is like, they're literally like high schoolers and they're stupid. And,
I always forget that.
I'm not that I get it, but like I'm like they do stupid things, and part of this is, you know, also it's like a rom-com show. Like I'm like, whatever, but also I'm like, can we not like be so mean?
And you know who agrees with us?
Who? Tell me.
Harim.
He absolutely does.
Oh yeah.
He's like, CB, stop it. And I think my favorite part of this next scene where we cut back to Coffee Prince is that CB makes the argument that Seung-gi paints his nails, so it's okay because CB idolizes Seung-gi.
Yeah, you know what? That's a fair plot point that I haven't quite picked up on, is this cool older brother, Seung-gi.
He loves him. He's cool.
I also love him, and he paints his nails.
Yeah, I'm a big Seung-gi fan. I feel like honestly you can't watch this show without being a big Seung-gi fan because like he's cool and angsty, and so already you're like nice. And but then he has like a cool side story, and you're like whoa.
So, we love a brooding character in a world of overexcited children.
He's also the first character to be like gay, totally okay, and we're like, damn, Seung-gi, he's the total package.
Yeah, you know what? This is a Seung-gi appreciation post for all that you do.
Yeah.
We love you.
I'm gonna open up an account just to tweet every day that Seung-gi is good. That's what I'm gonna do.
The Seung-gi also rises.
Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, so Harem is like, do not date this girl that takes advantage of you. Instead, I'll set you up with a girl who's cool and nice. And CB's like,
but I only want to date my angel.
Yeah.
And then this is also the scene where we get like the start of this uncomfortable plot thread where Harem is just mad at Unchan.
It's strange because he's mad at her, but then he's not.
It's very hard to read the room during these scenes.
Because sometimes, yeah, he absolutely, he sees her and he, like, makes these weird snide comments. But then also there are plenty of other times in this episode where he's just, like, totally happy and fun with her and, like, genuinely having a good time. And so I'm like, is he mad? Is he doing, like, the weird, I'm your friend, so I'm gonna shit on you? Is he... I can't tell. I honestly can't tell with him. He's been so all over the place this whole show that I cannot tell.
They bring up the point of like, oh, he's just mad because he showed you his butt when he thought you were a boy and you saw the tattoo. And Unchan kind of like repeats that to him and he's like, you're a wall, which is just the greatest insult that I've never heard before this episode.
Yeah. I do think because in the rest of the episode he's not really like actually mad at her, I do think that it's less of a him being mad and he's coming to terms with the fact of who he was to her without knowing that she was a girl, and he, I think, is feeling not necessarily, actually no, I would say embarrassed, and he's expressing that by being like, screw you, Unchan, you wall.
And
it doesn't seem malicious, definitely. It
is not malicious, I will say. I think you're absolutely right by bringing up that it's like his relationship to her has been recontextualized, and also her relationship to his BFF, which I think is a lot of where he's struggling.
Yeah, definitely. So then it's time for Unchan and Hangul to go on a date.
Yeah, dude, date night.
Date night. Where's the date? Of course, it's at Hangul's house, like it always is.
we this is the set that we have. We're not going to make another. Yeah.
It's honestly these like house dates are very, very cute. But there is a small part of me that's like, I want like, I don't know, I want to see like a cute little like carnival date. Like, can we go on a carnival date? Like,
please.
Can we please?
Let me see Hangul struggle to ring the bell at the strongman thing, and then Unchan just pounds that shit.
Yes, that's absolutely what I want. Oh my god. But instead, they're making ramen.
They do this very cute, like, early couple thing where they, like, find all these things that they compliment each other on. And he's like, I only eat the egg white. And she's like, I only eat the egg yolk. And it's like, oh my god, they're perfect for each other. But also, shut up. So they're having their fun cooking party. Cutting up scallions with scissors and then stirring the pot with them, and then they argue over who gets to use the pot lid to eat, which is very cute. Yeah, reminds me of Unchan just eating straight out the skillet. This
scene itself is very cute, but after the whole like pot lid thing, where like he has it and she's like, give it to me, and then he ends up giving it to her, there's this part where Hangul like laughs. And it's such a, like, genuine, like, goblin laugh. Like, he's like, and it's so cute. Like, I was like, oh my god, they're having so much fun. Like, it really makes me think that, like, when they were filming these scenes, they were, like, genuinely having a good time.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was about to
sweet
go
that laugh
full
sounded.
X-Files, because I want to believe, that, like, there are a couple scenes during this episode specifically where somebody does something and then Unchan laughs and I'm like, is that a breaking character laugh? Is that why it cuts immediately afterwards? Because they call cut? Like, I need it. I need it to be real.
Oh my gosh. I hope it is. I hope they had a good time filming this, because I had a good time watching, and so I hope everyone had a good time overall.
I feel like episode 13 we've officially moved past, like, all the sadness of the last 4 to 5 episodes, and I feel safe to laugh again.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. So they continue this date, and they're just being, like, as coupley as possible. Like, they're like, it's time for us to brush our teeth together, and to also have matching cups, and to eat one big block of ice cream with 2 spoons.
Oh, it's so cute, and the wardrobe does a good job of characterizing them in this scene, because Hangul has this fancy shirt on that's made by a designer. It has a quote from an artist on it that's, like, written in another language, and then Unchan's shirt says, heart for eye for heart, which just about sums up their characters for me.
Truly. Oh my god, I can't even think of the word.
Outrageous.
So we have all this cute stuff, as we always do. Or I guess I shouldn't say as we always do, because sometimes we do not have cute stuff. But we have this super cute scene, and then it's time for us to kind of, like, hint at what is the conflict of this episode. And is something that has kind of been ignored for the most part. Or not necessarily ignored, but it's really been in the background. And that's the fact that Hangul is leaving in a month. And they haven't... And I mean, I guess before they haven't really needed to talk about it, but now they are in a relationship and they need to talk about it. So Hangul is basically being like, let's go together. We'll go at the same time. And Unchan is like, yeah, whatever. Sure.
Unchan kind of, like, raises it, and I gave him so much credit for this, because he immediately is like, you go with me, or, like, he immediately just, like, throws all the options that keep them together on the table.
Yeah.
And then they get into this sort of interesting conflict where she says, I don't even want to call it a conflict. This is just, like, this is the first time they've talked about this.
It's less of a conflict, and it's obvious that these two people have different life experiences and have different ideas about how relationships work. And they're like, because Hangul is like, it's fine, we'll live together. And Unchan is like, but then we'd have to get married. And Hangul is like, what? And she's like, because if we're gonna, like, sleep in the same house and, like, live together, we have to be married. And Hangul is like, what? And Unchan is like, obviously, Hangul, don't you know how being a couple works? And Hangul is like, I think I do, but I don't think it's what you think it is.
When a man and a woman love each other very much, they rent an apartment and they get married.
Of course. But yeah, there's this obvious disconnect, and then it kind of moves into Hangul being like, but, like, what if we, do the do? And Unchan is like, what?
She's like, I love Mountain Dew.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, of course.
The important thing in this is that, like, they're both valid, and they're both, like, considering the other's position. Because Hangul is a little bit flippant at first, because he says something like, oh, well, if moving in together means that we have to be married, like, just holding hands mean that I have to give you an engagement ring? And she's kind of like, haha, I actually don't know. And he also brings up the possibility of, like, hey, we can both go, and I'll get you, like, a separate place to live. Like, it doesn't have to be anything that you don't want it to be. And that's just sweet. That's just the sweetest.
Yeah, that was really cute. I was like, oh my god. Aww.
He does sort of, like, end this part of the scene by being like, hey, I'm glad you're a woman. And gives her, like, a little head smack kiss. And then she, like, tries to pull the kiss off her face and, like, put it in her mouth.
Yes. And it's extremely good.
We love her.
Ugh. So they're very cute, and then we cut to next day at Unchan household. And Unchan is just, like, super happy. She's telling her mom, she's telling her sister, she's like, it's so great, like, we could go to New York, and he said I should go with him, and he said that we don't, like, we can live separately, and so it's, like, all fine, like, did you hear that, Mom? We can have, like, 2 separate apartments. And Unse is not very happy about that.
Yeah, she kind of like goes off by being like, if you leave and we're not being provided for by your husband, basically, like if you're not getting married, then there's no obligation for him to help us. How are we gonna survive? How am I gonna go to college? Like, just shucking these nuts.
So she very much like starts off this conversation like very typical and say it sounds like she's just kind of like being a greedy money goblin to be one, because she's like saying these things like, well, are you gonna like buy us a condo before you go and get married to a rich guy? Like, I want to be rich in Chen, like whatever. But then it becomes very evident that she's actually hurt by the fact that her sister might be just like leaving to go be with this, you know, I mean, to Unsei, she's like, my sister is just gonna like run off to another country with this man that she just met a couple months ago, and he's like rich or whatever, and we're gonna be left in the dust.
Yep.
And she reacts by kind of just like lashing out and kind of bringing to the table the things that you said, where she was just kind of like, you know, like, how are we gonna provide for ourselves? Like, I can't do anything right now. Like, if you're not gonna provide for us, you know. I don't think that the way that she says it, of course, is a good way to express those feelings. But also she's a high schooler facing the idea of losing her sister,
Yes.
like in a way that she'd never thought like would happen. And we get a little more into her kind of like side of this whole thing, but this is the first time that it feels like she's truly, truly upset and hurt, and not just kind of like being angry or being annoyed or being like, you know, her usual kind of self.
Yeah. And it was especially interesting contrasted to like Mama's reaction, which it feels like she's very happy. Like, it reminded me of like my own grandmother in a way, because my own grandmother was like the youngest of 7 children. And this was a few decades back. So it was very much like if one of your kids got married and moved away and got to like live a better life, like you were stoked, because it was one less person to work, but also one less person to provide for. And I got like shades of that feeling, like watching Mama react to the news, like, oh, my daughter, my eldest daughter is like going to be maybe moving to New York with this person who can give her everything she wants. And then we cut from that to Sungi showing up on someone's doorstep menacingly.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We literally get like a solid 10 seconds where we see Sungi. He's at a doorstep. The door opens. He has the strongest one eye cover eye bang he's had this whole show. It's so strong. It's so clean. It's so crisp. You cannot see that second eye. And then we see a woman. The woman? And then we cut away, and that's it, and that's all we fucking get, and that's it. And we're like,
spoiler alert, that's all we get for this whole episode about that subplot.
Yeah, literally, they're like, wow, remember this side plot about Sungi? Here it is. Just kidding.
The only thing that could have been better is if the woman turned to the camera and said, see you in episode 16, and like that was just cut away.
Yeah. So that's all we get for Sungi. Anyway, bye Sungi. It's time to cut to Han Gyo's family, and we get Grandma. Hi, Grandma.
Yeah. This episode, I've noticed that like a lot of the conversations about Han Gyo's parentage are really done between Dad and Grandma, and his non-biological mom is left out a lot of those. And it was one of those moments for me where I'm like watching this dynamic unfold, and I'm not seeing the actors. I'm seeing these characters like being these characters, and I'm not thinking about like, oh, this person is reacting really well in the scene, or this person is like really driving their lines home. It's like, no, I'm just watching people live through an emotionally stressful situation, and I'm like right there with them.
That's so interesting, because I'm the opposite. When I watch shows, that kind of view of like just watching and seeing the characters is kind of like my default. And when something happens, like, like Unchen kicks a thing and then it cuts right away, I am pulled out and I'm like, oh, was that not scripted? But usually when I watch shows, I kind of default to seeing the characters just kind of as themselves and not really thinking about like what the actors are doing. So that's so interesting.
Oh, wow. I think it might also be because I don't watch many shows, but when I do, I usually like recognize actors from other things, or I usually like hear somebody's voice and I'm like, what else has this person been in? But because
that's right. You watched a lot of movies growing up, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that was like all I did. I'm a film boy.
I guess it also helps that I'm not like a references person. Like someone says an actor name to me and I'm like, I have literally zero idea who you're talking about. I cannot. And then someone says like, oh, you know, and they say like a character name and I'm like, ah, yes, of course. That one.
Yes. And then we go from one emotional extreme to the other very rapidly because we go from tense discussion between non-biological family members to CB on a date.
CB's on a date with someone who isn't Unsei, which means Harim held up, and he did in fact get set CB up with a girl.
Like there are like so many things that are perfect about this scene. Like the lighting and the atmosphere of like this bar. It feels like the classiest, nicest place, and like the characters are like they're looking good and they're on a date and like they're being cool. And then there's just Harim's head just floating in a cloud, like directly looking at me personally. And he's telling me these things that I don't want to hear.
Oh my god, it's literally this whole date. You're so right. It's like so classy and like so chic and like everything's great. The music, the atmosphere, the mood. And then Harim just keeps popping up to narrate the date. And I assume, you know, he's like talking like this is replaying what he told CB about this girl. Because it's always him being like, this girl is like perfect. She's pretty and she's considerate and she's whatever. I don't know, whatever that he says. And it's so funny because like CB kind of will like pause and like hear what Harim said and then kind of like react accordingly.
Like Dean Martin's kiss is playing in the background while Harim goes, "You could get lost in those eyes," and I'm like scared.
Oh my god!
I don't want to get lost.
It's so funny because the way that this scene is set up, it feels like a date that is like meant to fail. Like it feels like, oh, Harim's gonna say a thing and then CB is gonna react and the girl is gonna be like, what? But it actually goes super well. Like she's into him and he's like, whoa, like, you know, CB.
I will say the first time I saw this, I got like a little bit of a gut punch reaction because the date has obviously been in progress for a while before we show up. But, like, when we cut to this scene, we just see, like, okay, they're looking at each other, they feed each other, and then he's like, I would like to go on another date. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, let's pass the fork around another time, Boro. That's it.
That is all it took. But then Unsei calls, and so CB picks up his phone, and he kind of, like, hunches over, and he goes, what? And she's like, come here. And he's like, I can't. I'm busy. And then he hangs up the phone and we're like, ooh, wow.
He has like the most dramatic swings from being like a total cool badass to like a lovesick puppy. And this was like great because she goes, when did you get the balls? And he's like, I've always had them. Click. And it's the best thing.
We're like, oh no, we got her, oh my god. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what CB I think is picturing in his mind happened.
Oh yeah, imaginary Harim is just double fisting air horns in his head. It's totally
yeah. Oh man. So then we cut to Unsei is now angry and she's sad and she's just upset in a lot of ways. And so she's storming home and so she passes by Mr. Ku. And it's time to have a good old sit down with Mr. Ku and talk about our feelings.
God, I love Mr. Ku.
So this is, I mean, maybe it's because I've seen this show before that it was easier for me to pick up on. But personally, I do feel like we've seen Unsei's feelings playing out, but she hasn't really been vocalizing them, like, in a way. Like, it's easy to see that at the end of the day, Unsei is actually just hurt. She's sad and she's scared. And the way that she's been reacting is by lashing out and being angry and stuff. And I feel like this is the first time that she kind of like admits that she's not just mad. She is actually sad and scared.
Yeah. It's an interesting case of where like the character finally tells, not shows. And it's really, I think there was a mention of, she says like, well, why are you trying to marry my mom? And she segues from that into, well, if my mom gets married and then Un-chan gets married and moves away, like, I'm alone. And, like, I do not want to be alone. And thinking about, like, that mindset in terms of she just calls CB and then he's like, nah, bye. Like, he's a little bit justified in doing that, but I think, like, in that moment, she was probably just reaching out for somebody. And Mr. Koo... no, please.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, oh no, we both want to say it.
We both want to praise him so much, but like...
We both want to... I was gonna say, I think Mr. Koo responds in the best way that he possibly could have. Because she kind of expresses that fear to him, and he responds, well, you know, actually, if I marry your mom, that doesn't mean that I'm taking your mom away from you. That just means you're gaining another family member. And I was like, oh... Ooh, oh no, aw.
That is very pure, and my favorite line that he says is actually the one that he says next, where he says, listen, if it bothers you, I will not marry your mom until I have your permission, which is, I can't think if I've ever seen that in any other show or anything, just like this potential step-parent deferring to the stepdaughter. Like, wow.
Ooh, really? Huh.
I might be like forgetting some very famous movie that does this, but it wasn't as good as Coffee Prince.
That's totally a possibility. In my mind, I was thinking maybe this is something that's more common in the type of media than I consume than the type of media that you do. But also, I don't remember anything about the cool, big blockbuster movies I've seen. So, like, you know what? I actually have no idea.
So Mama comes in to bookend that scene by gently scolding her daughter and being like, why didn't you come home after school? And then Unsei's like, I'm going, and then walks around the corner towards the house. And then Mama is walking up to Mr. Koo like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Did you go somewhere nice? And he kind of, like, clams up and, like, retreats back into his butcher counter. And Mama walks away being like, I do not understand this man. But still. Yeah. And there's like this moment where she's kind of looking at him and he's like pretending not to look while he's behind the counter. And then she like looks away and he looks at her and I'm like, just kiss already, old people. Do it.
Oh my god.
But he can't get married until he has permission now, so.
No, that's right. That's right. He's put himself in he's drawn the circle in the sand all by himself. And now he's stuck. Anyway, back at Coffee Prince, everyone is having a great time. We're enjoying ourselves to the fullest. We're just like really, we're doing it.
They're doing the shoving buddies thing, where when you want to show that a group of characters are like cool with each other, they kind of gently nudge each other with their elbows constantly.
All right.
Because CB is like nudging Hangul, and Hangul's like, dude, what? And CB's like, I'm jelly, bro. And then Seung-gi is just trying to do his job. This is his 9 to 5. And the whole time Un-chan is like, aren't my boyfriend's shoulders just the fucking broadest?
All she wants is just to brag about how cool her boyfriend is. And it's so funny because, like, I feel like if this had been the Seung-gi when he had just joined Coffee Prince, his response probably would have been just, like, annoyed and, like, whatever, and just kind of, like, standoffish, like, get away. But instead, you know, he's working and he's kind of smiling a little. You can see him, like, playfully rolling his eyes because he's like, all right, Un-chan, your boyfriend is super cool. And then he gives the exact advice that I have for Un-chan and Hangul for this entire episode, which is he kind of like cuts off her bragging momentum by being like, hey, isn't your boyfriend going to like New York in a month? Yeah. And she's like, and he's like, hey, shouldn't you like, I don't know, talk to your boyfriend about that and, like, you know, have a conversation about it. And I'm like, you're so right, Sungi. That is exactly what they should be doing. That is, like, the one thing that they should be doing about this thing, instead of, like, making weird plans in their head and then, like, talking vaguely about it and, like, saying things jokingly instead of saying them seriously. And, like, maybe you're so right, Sungi.
It was great because, like, we get that one 10-second scene of him visiting this woman who we know nothing about. And then his advice that he gives to Unchan, presumably later, is to grab onto him. Like, do not let go of this person if you love them. And we kind of inferred that, like, oh, that's because he didn't grab onto this person for whatever reason, and, like, she left, and he's been looking for her. And the specific phrasing of, like, grab onto them comes up later in the episode, and I'll try to remember to bring it up again.
Okay. I'll also try to remember, but jury's out. Anyway, it's been so long, it feels like, but guess who we cut to next?
Sweeper.
Oh, gosh. Nope, it's Hansung.
Aw. It's never
and
Sweeper.
Hansung, it's literally, it's either Sweeper and you get excited and then you get sad when it's Hansung, or it's just not Sweeper at all and you're like, wow. Lame. But Hansung needs to get the mail, and he also needs to be sad about it. He needs to pick up a piece of mail that says Yuju on it and then, like, run his thumb over it solemnly and be sad. And then he needs to sit down and give her a call and not get an answer, and then leave this, like, weird, sad, passive voicemail that's like, hey, Yuju, like, so I guess you don't have your phone on, okay, I haven't heard from you, you should turn your phone on, okay, bye. And we're like, Jesus Christ, like, I get it, this dude is sad, but, like, my boy, my man, turn some lights on in your house.
I didn't realize Hansung was in the studio recording with us today. That was a flawless read.
Thank you so much to Hansung for his guest appearance. Okay, bye. Can you
Bye.
Hansung, can you please leave? Hansung.
Please. Turn
Hansung,
the lights on
get
your way
out.
Oh.
All right, there he goes. Now we can talk shit. All right.
So... fucking Hansung.
Oh, man. But yeah, so Hansung is very sad. Honestly, like, yeah, I get it. Like, he hasn't seen this girl he just, like, hasn't heard anything from her, and they're just kind of making it, like, painfully obvious.
And then once again, going from emotional extreme to emotional extreme, we get, like, this lovely, like, late dinner scene where Mama comes out and sees Unchan is eating, and she, like, grabs stuff from the fridge to eat with her.
Yeah.
They talk about, Mama is worried that the families are not a good match. Because Mama is sort of, like, of the opinion, like, oh, we have to work hard to stay afloat, and it's just the three of us, and, like, we don't really have anybody to fall back on. Mm-hmm. And contrasting to, like, how well off Han Gyul's whole family is. But I love that Unchan's response is to go, like, what's wrong with our family? Like, why would there be a problem?
Yeah. This is, so as we venture more into the specific genre of, like, Korean dramas, you'll find that this is a very big theme. Just because one of the kind of popular dynamics in a lot of these shows is, like, basically super rich character versus pretty poor character. Mm. And so this theme of, like, fear of, you know, matching well, not just as, like, people, but as people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and just kind of having different understandings of the world, and fearing that will stop them from being able to truly mesh well together as a couple, and also as families if they were to get married in the future, is a super, like, prominent thing that you'll find time and time again.
Interesting. And
it's kind of interesting because I feel like oftentimes it's pushed a bit more to the forefront, and I feel like with this series, it was kind of in the background. Like, it was there, but no one was, like, really talking about it until we have Mom now, like, episode 13, so we're pretty deep in, and she kind of brings up, like, oh, so, you know, like, this is a concern that I have.
Mm. And it's also like a very beautiful symmetry between these scenes because we cut from Mama and Unchan eating and talking about this to Hangyul and his non-biological mother, who is making food that he likes very much, and he's talking about how like, oh boy, any girl I date in the future is gonna have a hard time living up to your cooking, Mom. And it's like it's
Yeah.
the sweet moment between our two lead characters and their mother figures, and like I love that when they cut directly from Unchan to like this crab, like I still thought we were in the scene with Unchan and Mama, and then you kind of pull back and it's like, oh no, we're in a different kitchen, but it's the same mother-child bond and it's the same like loving, warm atmosphere.
Oh, interesting. Because to me, cutting to the crab was kind of like we just had this warm. I mean, it's the same sentiment where we had this warm mother-child conversation, but with this kind of forefront idea of like weird, our families are different. And then the cut to the crab is kind of like a pretty obvious difference of these two families because, that's the kind of dinner that they're having versus Unchan and Mom who are having like ramen and a cup of rice.
Mm-hmm.
But then we still kind of see the same sentiment, the same warm moment between a child and the mother figure. And it's kind of nice because even though there are those obvious monetary differences, they still have the same relationship. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what that said to me.
Same love. They love the children.
They love their children.
And then like the coldness kind of creeps back in because at dinner Grandma is like very ominously like, hey, after you eat, we're going somewhere to Hangyul.
Yeah, you thought this was going to be like a warm mother-son moment, but surprise, the whole family's here. And guess what, Hangyul? It's serious time. And he's like, okay.
This episode and like a couple scenes before in previous episodes have really been building up to this moment. And it's Hangyul meeting his mother for like the first time that he remembers. And
his birth mother, yes.
Yes, his birth mother, thank you. So the place that they end up going to is the Cinerarium.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard this word before, so I ended up pausing and looking it up. And it's a place where they store the ashes of people who have been cremated. And the building that they show is absolutely beautiful. We see Hangyul and Grandma are looking at a picture, and the whole wall is just like littered with flowers. It's very beautiful. Yeah. And she gives him the news, like, Lee Myung-jae is your biological father. And we don't even get to see his reaction.
It literally cuts right to Grandma walking out, and like we're like, oh.
She has one very interesting thing to say to the dad, which is like, you worked hard, but it's hoping that your child will understand the heart of the parent is a type of greed. And she's kind of acknowledging that like there's no way we can expect him to act the way we want after giving him this information, but it's information we had to give him.
Yeah. Damn.
And then we cut to Coffee Prince.
That's right. We're like, all right, that was a big moment, big truth. There you go, buddy. And then it's like, anyway, Un-chan is doing a coffee latte art, so that's cool.
Yeah, she's making like a latte angel, and then Havrim is like, wow, so good, and he gives her like chin scritches.
Yeah, they're remember how they were like, he was like mad at her earlier in the episode? Doesn't even matter anymore. Now he's like her best friend. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he sees her as like a cat.
Yeah, maybe that's how he views people that he has conflicting feelings about. He's like, you are now pet.
He's like, anyway. But so then Un-chan and Mr. Hong actually have a nice little moment here, and I wrote down kind of like the part that resonated with me most, but Un-chan kind of talks about how like she wants to become a barista, and this is something that she enjoys doing, that she kind of has found a passion for. And they talk a little bit about like making money as a barista and like what the kind of logistics of that are. And Mr. Hong kind of like mentions like, oh, well, like really, you know, you got to be realistic about it. Like this is like, you can make it big, but know that it's a slow and steady process. And Un-chan kind of responds like, oh, well, you know what, like if I was able to provide for my family and have a place to live and kind of like be in a comfortable life, then how could I ask for more? And Mr. Hong turns to her and she says, ask for more. You should ask for more. And I was like, aw.
That
man,
is...
I want someone to tell me to ask for more.
It's everything. Like,
yeah.
I've been saying, like, Mr. Hong is my favorite character, but, like, he in this one line, ask for more. Do you want to end up like me? Like, because he's somebody who's been shown to be very content. And it's gotten him to a place where he is happy. And you never get the impression that he would, like, even ask for more. But for Un-chan, he wants more for her, and he wants her to ask for more. And this push and pull between, like, contentment and ambition it's a really good undercurrent, because Hong-gil is applying for this Lego toy building thing, and Unsei wants to be an idol, and it's like, yeah, like, you have something to strive for. Like, that's part of the human condition.
What, like, a wonderfully positive influence for Un-chan. Like, that's just, like, such... I'm like, so happy for her that she has somebody in her life that would say to her, ask for more.
Yeah, it's... I mean, not to get real, but, like, I don't think that's something that people hear very often. Like...
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times we're kind of told, like, just, like, find a place where you can fit in and, like, just get by. But, like, somebody who is, like, motivated and who is ambitious, like, that kind of outside reinforcement is rare.
Yeah. It's good to see that outside reinforcement said to somebody who is kind of, like, the age group that, like, because when I think about, like, when you're younger, it's much more likely that you're to hear those words, like, oh, you can be anything you want to be, and if you work hard, you can, like, do this, this, and that, and then as you get older, it starts to be more like, find something you're happy with, and, like, you know, find a place where you fit in, find where you're comfortable, and, like, that's all you really need. And to see somebody like Un-chan who has experienced that kind of, like, you know, kind of being bogged down by the world, because in order to live and in order for her family to live, she's had to make sacrifices, and she's had to kind of, like, be content with being where she is because the resources were just not there. To see somebody then say to her, like, ask for more anyways, is just, like, so good.
That's absolutely true. To see somebody who's been put in a situation by circumstance and then watch them be okay with it, like, you have to wonder whether or not their contentment comes from they have to be content with it, because being unable to struggle against the situation and being miserable would be a hard life to live. And so opening yourself up to the idea of, like, well, maybe I deserve more and maybe I can achieve more. It doesn't have to be about just keeping the other people in my life happy.
Yeah. So then we're back at Casa Hong-gil, and we kind of, like, cut to Mom for a second. She's, like, worried. But the real meat of the story here is that Hong-gil and his dad are out at a little, like, outdoor bar, and they're drinking.
This was a mind fuck of a scene, pardon my French. But, like, the fact that we see Hong-gil and his dad's non-biological father's first drink that they ever have in this show, and Hong-gil calls it out as being like, this is the first time we've ever had a drink together. And then the second drink that they ever have together, now he knows that he no longer believes that this is his biological father. That was such a...
Oh my god, you're so right. I didn't even think about that.
Like, that was the one and only drink he would ever have with that man, believing that they were father and son biologically. They're still father and son in terms of, like, I've raised you, basically. And when I always say biological and non-biological, I don't mean to discount the influence that his foster parents have had on him. It's just a habit of coming from a family with an adopted child in it. I'm aware of the biological and non-biological connotation that gets added to these things.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. And the dad echoes a sentiment that I think the non-biological mother also said, which is, I feel sorry for your biological mother because she's not here to see how great of a man you've become.
He talks a little bit about, he kind of like gives Hangul a bit of the story of like his relationship with his biological mom and kind of like what happened. And I had a bit of a realization here, but it's for something that we will see later on in the series. So
Ooh.
I'm gonna keep it to myself because you don't know what's gonna happen. But I definitely, I put like a little star next to it because I was like, this is something that I want to remember, and this is something that I'm interested to see how those thoughts develop for you. So I just wanted to put that out into the universe, you know.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this pays off. It did get me thinking, though, because they were basically just a circle of tight friends, and then Lee Myung-jae left for Australia, and they couldn't get in contact with him after Hangul's mother died in a car accident. So they very much just, like, took this child of a friend in. And I started thinking, like, would I be able to do that? Like, if a close friend's child needed somewhere to go, like, would I be able to take them in and raise them as my own? And then the idea of doing that and worrying that this child may come to resent you once they learn the truth. The father is a character that we've had literally enough scenes that I could count on my hands with, probably. And the fact that I'm having such, like, a crisis over the emotional state that he must be in throughout this is a testament to the writing of this show, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. So Dad kind of, like, gives this story, and he shares this sentiment to say that he's very happy that he was able to, like, raise Hangul and stuff. And Hangul decides to play the take a shot when Dad says he's happy game. Because as soon as he's done talking and he's delivered this, like, emotional sentiment, Hangul takes a shot glass and goes...
Noted lightweight,
I'm
Hangul.
mad, and I don't know why, but I am. And I was like, bro, if that's not the realest thing, like, to, like, just be hit with a wave of emotions and not know how to express or not know why they're happening, but to feel the need to be like, I am feeling them.
He says, "That's it for today, Father." And I'm like, yeah, put your foot down. There's only so much emotional trauma you can have in one evening.
Yeah, once Hangul takes a shot, he's kind of, like, shutting you off because he's like, you know what happens next.
He's like, you're gonna have to carry me home.
Oh, man.
We cut to
so back at Coffee Prince.
Hey!
Hey! We're on the same... We said the same thing.
Harim and Unchan are ironing the uniforms, I think.
Yes. And Harim is like, hey, Unchan, why won't your boyfriend text me back? And Unchan is like, I don't know, we, like, talk all the time, and, like, he called me, so I know exactly what's happening. And Harim is like, he'll call his girlfriend, but he won't even text his best friend back. Not one measly text, one word for old Harim. Oh, whatever.
8 years of friendship down the drain, I suppose. This was a real moment because I started to, like, I guess they started to show that a lot of Harim's, like, aberrant behavior that we've been seeing is actually just a manifestation of, like, this person who I was originally the person closest to them at this store, I've now been sort of supplanted by the romantic interest. It's kind of like we got a new cuter baby in the store, so we don't need cute baby anymore.
Oh no, cute baby.
He just starts, like, throwing Madam at her. He's like, oh, well, if Madam does this, then I will have to tell Madam because my master, Madam. And it's like, dude, okay, but you don't have to be that, you know?
Oh man, yeah. I do think some of the effect, or I guess the logic of kind of slipping into that might be lost on us a little bit, just because we speak a language and we live in a culture that doesn't really have honorifics. So like, yeah, I was thinking about that when you mentioned madam. I was like, I guess, you know, like, because to us that's such a weird thing to do, but maybe the humor of it, or just like the logic of that being something to do, or that just being like, you know, a way to use the language or whatever, that's just something that we don't really have. So I was like, I guess I don't really get it.
I didn't appreciate that. That's good context, because on a very real level, they're literally having to change the way they speak about and to Unchan.
Oh man. Oh, whoa, hold on, now we're going deep.
The Unchanness of this being has been called into question.
Yeah. So, Unchan and Harim also get a little bit into the, like, you know, Hangul going away, like, what's the plan, what's gonna happen. And at this point, I kind of, like, reached this level of, like, everybody is kind of, like, talking to Unchan about this and giving her some kind, like, their word of wisdom or their advice. And I feel like, honestly, that's all good and great, because it's great to talk to your friends about things, but Unchan, please just talk to Hanyul about this.
True.
Because this is you are in a relationship now, and this is a life change that you two, as two people in a relationship together, should communicate about. Just, I don't know, just like an idea, just like a thought that I had.
Harim in this scene says, like, oh, you know, he's been working on this for 3 years, and it took a lot of hard work. And, like, the implication is being, like, he would throw it away for you, but you have a responsibility not to let him. And it just felt like such a strange putting the ball in her court. I have to say that, like, it gets a little bit resolved later on, and I'm very glad at the way they do that. But this was a move that made me think of Harim as a character being like, you're applying pressure in this situation. You're twisting Unchan's arm because why? And, like, I didn't really understand the reasoning of, like, well, I want my friend to be happy.
Yeah.
And he likes you, but is the assumption that Unchan is, like, a temporary thing? Which, like, I've seen that cynicism a lot in other media and in real life, where it's like, oh, don't pick the girl. Like, if you think about moving to out of state for college, and you have a girlfriend in town, like, don't stay where the girl is. Like, college is more important. And it feels like the same kind of scenario is being applied to this job in New York.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They resolve it later, so I feel like we'll kind of come back to it.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't dwell on it too much.
No, we're stuck here. We have to talk about Harim and his feeling and nothing else.
We actually film inside of a podcast dungeon, and every few feet there's a portcullis that won't raise unless we talk in depth about each scene. Yeah,
it's kind of wild.
Yeah, having to hold the microphone and the laptop and also cross the pit of fire.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Well, oh, hey, looks like the fire's off, so I guess, anyway, Hangul...
Great, next level.
Hangul, then proceeds to call his girlfriend, and he's drunk.
Oh, yeah, he's, like, drunk, but he's also, like, mellowed out, like, low energy drunk. Like,
well, you know, I mean, there's different kinds of drunks, you know, like, maybe, I mean, like, we have seen that when he consumes alcohol, his MO is to fall the fuck asleep.
Yes, big drowsy.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I know people that when they drink alcohol, I know good friends that when they drink alcohol, they don't necessarily become, like, loosey-goosey or silly or, like, the stereotypical thing we think of drunk, but they just kind of become tired or, like, chill. So, like, if this is how Hangul is drunk, then, you know what? I believe it wholeheartedly.
You know what else I believe wholeheartedly?
What?
How cutely dumb and dumbly cute Unchan is. That she gets a call as she's pulling into her own driveway from Hangul, and he's like, come over. And she's like, oh, you know, I'm almost home. I guess I could swing by. And he's like, oh no, if you're close to home, don't worry about it. And she's like, no, like walking her bike back out of the driveway to turn around.
I'm actually like right by your
themselves.
house. I just passed by your house, actually. I can just turn around real quick.
Oh no, it's no trouble. I'll just hang a Yui. I'll be right there. 3 minutes.
Yeah. She does. I wonder if there was a discrepancy in our translations, because the way that I kind of interpreted the words that were presented to me on the screen were that when he called her and he asked where she was, she kind of looked up at her house and she was like, actually, I'm close to your house. And he was like, oh, well, if you're on your way home. And she was like, no, I swear, like, I'm actually really close to your house. I can just go there right now. So I thought that she was kind of playing this charade up the whole time.
That makes sense, because they played the pronoun game in mine, and they said the house, and I took it to mean hers. But it could have been
it could have been, maybe.
So she books it over there.
Yeah. With her phone wedged in between her helmet and her face so that
Cute
she can talk hands-free.
She's got the Bluetooth before Bluetooth existed.
Yeah. But it's time to eat chicken and talk about our day and our feelings. And it's kind of, it like starts out and it's kind of like, all right, Un-chan, what'd you do today? And she kind of gives him the report. She's like, well, this is what happened. Like, someone called at this time, and then this happened, and then a customer was mean to me, but it's okay, because then, like, this customer's always stupid. It's whatever. And then she's like, how about you, Hangul? How was your day? And Hangul definitely had a very different day than Un-chan.
Yeah. He fills her in, and she like, it's a lot of information to take in, and she's kind of dumbstruck, and Hangul has, like, a very defined sense of, like, right and wrong, and also honesty, which we've seen, like, can kind of be honest to a fault at times when it comes to, like, being lied to. And he says something like, my adoptive parents treated me so well, I didn't have any idea that I wasn't their kid. And, like, I was so mad at my dad because I thought he cheated on my mom. And to find out that, like, he was doing this very good thing and treating me very well out of love for my biological mother and father, like, it makes me feel guilty. And she just hugs him, which is the best thing that she could have done in that situation.
Yeah. She puts down the chicken and she crawls on over and she's like, come get your comfort hug.
She's literally, like, she puts the drumsticks down. That's how you know that we've entered full emotional support.
It's real. Then it's time for therapy Legos, because they decide, you know what? Let's go outside and sit on the porch and build some Lego.
Therapy Lego is real. Un-chan says, it's very satisfying to feel like you're in control of a situation. And I'm like, yeah.
So then, finally, we start to actually talk a bit about what the future holds. We start to kind of approach this, or I shouldn't even say kind of, because they have approached it before, but we start to, like, truly approach this topic and kind of, like, I feel like Hangul has fully expressed his feelings about it to Un-chan, where he's been like, listen, like, I'll stay here, I won't go, or I'll go and you come with me. Either way, I want us to be in the same space. And Un-chan kind of hasn't really told him her own feelings. And also this episode, you know, she's kind of experienced, you know, how her sister feels about it, and she's talked with her mom a little bit. So she's kind of got this better understanding, or she's thought a bit about her situation. And so she ends up kind of telling him, like, I'm needed here. I don't want you to stay here. You need to go because that's what's best for you, but I need to stay here. And Hangul is like, fine, but I'm gonna visit you, like, literally every day. And Un-chan is like, and he's like, what if, okay, fine, once a week. And Un-chan is like, oh man. And then Un-chan kind of, like, counters back with the, like, once a year? And he's like,
yeah. And
then she starts, like, giving him these rules. She's like, listen, when you wear that one black shirt, you look so freaking hot. And I can't have it.
I won't allow it.
All the ladies in America are gonna see you're hot, and they're gonna be all over you. And I can't do it. You can't wear that shirt. And it's like it's one of those things that, like, if I looked at it and I just saw the text, I would be like, this is this isn't okay. But because I do have the context and the tone, I'm like, this is like a fun little playful, like, you know, and you can't make that one face that you make that always makes me like my heart flutter because it's a really good face. Yeah. It's like a cute little compliment / like, you know, it's playful and it's fun.
Yeah, there's no malicious possessiveness to it.
Yes.
God, and then the end of this scene is one of the parts that I'm pretty sure was the actors just genuinely laughing. Yes. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They're,
like, laying together, and, like, Un-chan kind of, like, swings her leg over Hangul, and then he counters by swinging his leg, but he kicks the Lego, and he's like, ah!
Yeah. It looks like he, like, pulled a muscle or something a little bit, because he goes, and then immediately Un-chan's like,
Oh, yeah, it's so good. I'm like, I'm so glad they left that in, because that is exactly what I needed to see.
Oh, it's really a perfect, like, bookend to this conversation of them just being like, should I not go? And her being like, look, I'm big enough to admit that, like, I'm needed here and that you've worked very hard for this, and, like, I'm not going to keep you from it.
So then we cut to our resident sad boy Hansung.
Time to have another beer in the dark.
Yeah, he walks in, he comes home. He does not turn on a single light in his house because he cannot do that. He's physically incapable. He gets a beer, he drinks some beer, he walks into the living room, he sees some luggage, but that's not his luggage. Who could it be? He looks to the door, and there's a single light on in the house, and Hansung is like, well, I don't turn lights on in my house, so obviously it couldn't have been me. And he goes to the room, and he opens the door, and it's Yuju.
Yay!
Yay, we did it!
I'm not gonna lie, even though I've seen the episode, when you were setting that up and you're like, there's luggage, I was kind of hoping that Sweeper would have been packing his bags and also leaving.
Sweeper was like, I'm sick of it. I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
I wanted you to tell me to sit and stay. But you hesitated.
So yeah, Yuju is back, and I had, like, some complicated feelings about it later, but he comes and he sees her on the bed, and she's just, like, sleeping, and he, like, comes up, and he just has this, like, the dopiest of dopey grins on his face, and it just looks so sweet and genuine that I'm just, like, in that moment, so happy for Hansung.
I hate to admit it, but I did feel, like, the joy of reunion, where it's like, these two people who deserve each other are back together.
Yeah. Anyway, we can't stay on any of these side stories for too long, so we cut back to Un-chan's house. And Un-chan breaks the news to Un-se that she's gonna go to New York, and she's gonna stay. And Un-se is so happy.
Yeah. It's hard not to dislike how absolutely stoked Un-se is that, like, her sister is not going to cool New York with cool boyfriend. I mean, like, obviously there's a part of me that's kind of like, you know, and maybe it's just my own personality or my own experiences, but, like, I feel sad to see somebody who, like, if somebody who cared for me didn't want to support me on a journey that I was going on, that would probably hurt my feelings. But at the same time, I kind of bring back the fact that, like, Un-se is in high school and whatever. Yeah.
And also her personality is straightforward. She's not the kind of person to, well, I guess I shouldn't say she's not the kind of, because I feel like she totally has lied about her feelings to CB. Or maybe she just didn't recognize them. But regardless, she's a very straightforward person. She's the kind to kind of be very blunt about what she's feeling. You know, she's not gonna, like, beat around the bush and be like, oh, okay. And she shows this very genuine happiness that she is not going to be losing her sister. Like, her sister is going to be staying here with her. And it is kind of sweet to see, because I do know that if there was somebody who was going far from me, someone who I cared about who was leaving me, as much as I would be happy for them, like, getting a cool experience, I still would be sad that they are leaving. And even if they told me that they're not doing a thing, as much as I would be sad that they are no longer going on this opportunity that could be great for them, I would also be happy that they're staying. And I think also it makes a difference that it's not like Un-chan had like a job lined up in New York and she lost it.
True.
And it's like this real sad thing. It's more like she had the chance to go to New York and she wasn't even really that sure what she wanted to do. It was more about the fact that she would go and be living with her new boyfriend. And since it's not like she lost a big opportunity or this is like something that she's been looking forward to that was taken away from her, since it's just kind of like her being like, no, I think in my life I'm needed more here and I want to stay here with my family, I'm kind of like, okay, like Unsei being happy doesn't really make me that like weird, because I'm like, hey, it's like, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. That's very valid. That's, you've won me over. I'm on Team Unsei now.
Got him. Let's go. Unsei team.
Team Angel.
Team Angel. Aw.
And then at Coffee Prince, we get like a supercut of Un-chan kind of doing the dishes. And then we see
Oh my gosh. No, hold on.
Okay.
Because we get a supercut of Un-chan doing the dishes. However, she's not really doing the dishes. She has this bucket full of dirty water, and she is dumping waffles into the bucket. And I'm like, what? And then after all of this, what ends up is her like taking out the trash, and I'm like, why didn't you put the waffles in the trash?
Oh my God, you said it.
In the bucket of water?
Oh my God. I literally watched this happen, and I was like, I had a good waffle freak out a couple episodes ago. I'm gonna let this one slide. But I'm so overjoyed, Kara, that you picked up on it.
Oh my God.
And called them out.
I could not, because that cut was so long, and she didn't just like dump one in and it was like a one and done. Maybe that was a weird take. It was like deliberately 4 waffles were pushed into this bucket of water.
They made me want the gross waffle slide into a gross bucket of water, and then they showed her pouring the bucket into a trash can.
Oh
Why are you adding water to the trash?
Oh my God. Also, we did skip over it, so I want to mention really quick, but we did kind of have like a cut of Hansung and Yuju, and they're acting like nothing happened, like they always do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, But anyway, back to the waffle bucket. Like,
yeah, and guess who wore the shirt he wasn't allowed to wear?
Oh, I don't know. Is it stupid dumb Hangul?
Yeah, it's freaking dumb boy Hangul.
Of course it's freaking dumb Hangul. Stupid hot Hangul. What the heck?
He's like, whenever somebody says that I shouldn't do something, I do it more. And then at that point, I wrote 5 shadowing in my book, because it's one more than 4 shadowing.
Oh, man. Yeah, so he comes in and he notices that everybody is this becomes a thing that we revisit very soon, but he just notices that like everybody is telling Un-chan to go and like do things, and he's like,
yeah, I wonder what'll come of that.
But really quick, we have to cut back to Yuju and Hansung, because we can't let it sit for a minute, I guess. And once again, oh, sorry, I just like hit my table, and I have a lamp that you hit it to change the color, and it changed the color when I hit the table, and I was like, oh!
That's the DEF CON. It knows we're talking about the tragic couple.
Oh, man. Yeah, Yuju and Hansung, we cut back to them, and once again, they're like chilling like nothing has happened, and maybe that's like what they have to do, but like, I'm just like, it's so frustrating. I can't.
They're planning the party of the century, where they're like, hey, you know what our unaddressed emotional turmoil needs? We should introduce another new couple into it, just so they get a sense of what they could be like in 10 years.
Oh my God. Though I do have to say, we cut to them like eating stew and like drinking wine next to the window, and this setup is like absolutely incredible. Like, I wish I had a big window that I could like sit next to and eat my fucking, I don't know if this is like stew or soup or hot pot, but it looks delicious.
Yeah, I absolutely want to eat with one foot on my deck and then the other foot in my house.
Yeah. You know, you said 1 foot in my deck, and I was immediately picturing a deck of cards, and I was like, I don't remember that.
It's your move.
I did write down at this point, I know they always do this, where they do a thing and then they pretend like nothing happened, but they're talking as if this wasn't a big thing, and it totally was. This was a big thing that happened.
They ran to the
like,
airport.
Ran away for like a month or something. I don't know.
Oh, she just vanished.
Oh my gosh.
So, at Coffee Prince.
Oh my god.
What's going on down there is our man Harim is just crossing all kinds of lines. He's just in the mood for it, I guess, because
he's really like badgering Unchan, being like, "So, y'all had a date? What went down?" And Unchan is like, "Well, we played Lego," and Harim is like, "Is that a euphemism that I'm not familiar with?" Because
he slams his fist on the table and he's like, "Where's the skinship?" And
he's like, "Excuse me, I was looking for hot juicy deets and you played Lego?" Oh my god. And then he starts like talking about like sex things. And Hangul's Unchan is in danger, senses are tingling, and he storms over and he's like, "What are you saying to my girlfriend?"
Literally under the eyes of Hangul, he's like, "Look, lady, something that only happens to you once a day happens to guys literally all the time." And I'm like, "Oh my god."
Oh my god.
And as he's about to explain the concept of morning wood to this sweet, innocent child, Hangul just like goes, he's like, "What the fuck? Like, you need to stop." Oh, and then Hangul actually kind of snaps at him for using the Mai-chan thing, which is like always been Harim's thing. And so him being like, "Hey, she's like, if anything, she's Mai-chan, like, stop that shit." And Harim like blows up back at him being like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then it blows up even more because then we get into the like, "And also you guys are always telling my girlfriend to do things and you are all overworking her and I'm sick of it because you work here too and ma." And, you know, in the past, we've talked about how when we're at Coffee Prince and arguments happen in this little kitchen alcove that has a open window to anybody. Are the customers there? Is this before? Is this after work? What's going on? And Jaren, I could see the customers. They were absolutely there to witness this fight, to witness this screaming match. And I was like, oh my god, you know what that means? It's so likely that many of these other fights have in fact happened in front of customers of Coffee Prince.
What if that's part of the meta-narrative of the show, and the reason people are coming to Coffee Prince is exclusively for the will they won't they relationship between the manager and the cute boy?
It has nothing to do with the fact that all the workers are cute boys. It has everything to do with the drama, the BL manga playing out in front of them.
Come to Coffee Prince where you can get your tea and the tea.
Oh my god. Anyway, so the boys really take that criticism to heart and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry. You want us to be considerate of Unchan? We'll be considerate of Unchan." And they go so overboard.
I don't even know what to call this. This is like forced pampering.
They go in on the pampering. They're like, "Well, Unchan can't walk. No, not allowed. No. Unchan, sit here. Unchan, I have a fan. Unchan, please drink this coffee." And Unchan is like, stop it. And they're like, "Your boyfriend told us to be considerate."
Even Sungi, who's like also holding the drink in one hand, is fanning with the other hand. And I'm like, that's dedication.
that was like the funniest thing to me because I think it's Harim who's holding like the actual fan. I think, and then CB also starts fanning her with his hand, and then there's like a split second where you see Sungi also reach up to like fan her as well, and then it cuts away, and it makes me think that like that wasn't necessarily a thing he was instructed to do. He was just kind of like, yeah.
They're just fanning each other for great effect.
Oh, it was so good. I was like, and also it kind of made my heart warm because it makes me very happy to see Sungi like having fun in this atmosphere and like opening up and just like, you know, joining in on the jokes of the crew of boys.
Yeah, anytime he like participates makes my heart a little warm.
I love Sungi. Did I say that earlier? Because I love Singy.
I think we said we were going to make a fan account earlier, which...
What? No.
Yeah.
I'm not currently tweeting right now that I love Singy. What are you talking about? Why would you say that, Jane? That's so weird.
So Unchan comes downstairs and is like, did you ask them to do that? And Hongil is like, yeah, sure I did. Yeah, I bet I did.
Yeah, it was me. It was 100% me.
Like, okay, if you were ever in that situation and somebody comes downstairs and is like, did you do that for me? Would you just agree to it without knowing what it was? Because that seems like a freaking dangerous place to be.
I feel like that would be one of those things where I don't necessarily agree, like, on purpose, but more someone says to me a thing and I don't know what they're talking about, and my brain decides to answer for me by just going, yeah. And then I would have to backtrack and be like, I'm sorry, I actually don't know what we're talking about. What?
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe Hongil was just like, I absolutely did. Please explain to me what it was.
It's like, yeah, totally. What are we, what?
Oh yeah, no way. Totally. Got your back. What are we talking about?
Oh, man. So then, honestly, Hongil's mom kind of saves the day because he does not have to further explain the point. Instead, he just has to answer a phone call. Yeah,
he gets out of it. He weasels out.
Yeah. But unfortunately for Hongil, this is not a cool, fun, hey, mom phone call. It's a bit, you know, it's a little...
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's telling him, like, hey, your birth father is leaving the country tomorrow, and, like, if you want to see him off, like, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And it really reinforces her, I think, as, like, this very selfless character who just loves Hongil. Because, like, grandma and dad didn't tell him. It was, like, mom, who is oftentimes left out of this conversation, is the one who came to him and gave him this information.
So then we kind of get, like, that cool bomb drop, and then it's time to, like, flash forward, and now Unchan and Hongil are on the phone having, like, a cute, fun phone call that's, like, cute, and we like it.
Like, I love
it's not, like, heavy.
She looks like a cute little pineapple. She's got her hair done up, and she's eating a plate of fruit, and so it's a very, very happy moment for me, because I guess I love fruit.
Oh my gosh, and the apples that she's eating are so crisp. Like, they were like, listen, we need a sound effect for a crisp apple in this scene. And then they tested, I bet you anything, I bet you 100% real this is what happened. Yeah. They, like, tested different sounds of, like, crunching into an apple because they had to find the crispest one. And then they went in and they put that sound over, but they also, like, spruced it up a little bit with, like, you know, editing and stuff because they really needed it to be perfect. And then they just kind of, like, dialed up the level of the audio on the apple crisp sound because they were like, we need people to know that this apple crunch is, like, so crisp, so refreshing. And it made me want apples, which I think that means it was product placement, and I'm no longer happy about it.
Whoa, dude. We went full circle on that one. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Man,
just like the show, I had to do a roller coaster.
Now I don't like fruit.
Yeah, right? I hate it. It's stupid.
So they do more very good couple moves where he's, like, telling her about this opportunity to see his birth father off. And she's like, I don't know if I should tell you this, but your phone voice is pretty hot. And then she hangs up.
She's like, bye.
And then immediately calls back, which is the cutest thing ever, and says, you know, I think you should see your father off well. And this was another thing that, like, hit me because, and I might be misremembering, but I hope I'm not, because I think she said that she didn't visit her father in the hospital and therefore was unable to see him off well. So from her perspective as his partner, she wants him to get this closure because I think it's something that she wishes she had.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And so Unchan decides that, like, she's going to support him further in this effort in the best way possible. And if anybody ever did this for me, I would probably just combust inside out.
Yeah, I would start crying and never stop.
I would dehydrate myself with tears. She brings all the supplies to his doorstep and then assembles a paper chain with a big drawing of her face, big smiling, and hangs it over his door. And then we see her leave, and then the door closes behind her, and there's also a sign on the door that says "No girls allowed." Which, for a second, I was like, did Hangul have that there before?
Oh my god. Hangul was like, no girls in this house.
It's an
that
old
was
sign.
during the time that he was like convinced that he was gay. He was like, well, might as well commit.
Yeah, put the sign up.
Oh man. And then Hangul wakes up to it, and he sees the little, like, she also put like a little milk carton on the ground so he can get his what is it, calcium? Is that what's in milk?
So his bones can withstand
yeah.
pressure.
Oh man. And then it's time to talk to Daddy Prince.
Daddy Prince.
Well,
Prince Papa.
'cause, like Prince Pop.
Prince Senior. Coffee Prince Senior.
Oh my gosh.
And the way this scene is constructed is like pretty brilliant because they're in this airport, which is a very antiseptic environment. It's not like loving vibes. There's physical distance between them to represent the emotional distance. And Lee Myung-jae is like, I saw your dad. And Hangul kind of flinches at that because he's like, but like now I know that you are my dad, so it's weird to hear you refer to your friend as my father. And
yeah,
it's a bit of an anticlimax because he says, call me if you're ever around Australia, and like just gets ready to leave.
Yeah, I feel like part of me was like, oh man, like that's it. But also at the same time, I feel like just the exchange of contact information was kind of like, well, now, like this is no longer a man that shows up and when he's here you can talk to him. This is somebody who he could reach out to if he did need to talk to him, or like, if he did happen to be in Australia, he could be like, let me call up my biological dad. Like that, I feel like the fact that they did, like, he gave him like that way to contact him was kind of like enough for me. Like I was like, there you go, he's got it. He's got them digits.
It's also really interesting from the perspective of like, as he's getting ready to leave, you're wondering like, is Hangul gonna say that he knows? Because the way it was acted, like, I couldn't tell whether Lee Myung-jae knew that Hangul knew, or suspected that he knew, or knew that he didn't. And for Hangul to stand up and say, I heard you had a son, my first thought was, oh, Hangul is like referencing himself, basically being like, I heard you had a son, that's me. And then he's like, nah, he's 20 now. And you realize like this man moved on, he has another child by a different person, presumably, and the assumption is that he was there for that child in the way that he was not for Hangul. And Hangul makes the very mature adult decision to be like, I'm not going to bring this up now, this isn't the time or the place. And like this, he saw that like what could come out of this would not be what he wanted or needed at this moment. And I think that momentum, that maturity momentum that he built up in this scene carries him into the last scene of the episode where he's on the phone with Un-chan and she's at Coffee Prince just working, resting her head on a tree like a goddamn diva. And he says, let's tell each other everything. Whether you love me or you hate me or you don't like something or you like something, like, I just need to know. And like, there's been a lot of profound things in this show, and that one got me. The fact that at the beginning of this relationship, he's laying down, like, let there be no distance between us, so that whatever happens, we deal with it with all the information on the table as equals. And that was a great ending to a tremendous episode.
Yeah. I do want to go back a little bit, because I had a
Please
little bit
do.
to
I
say
kind of went
about
off.
It's okay. I felt that you were on this like good emotional journey, and I wanted to listen to it. So I was like, nah, it's good. I did actually the scene where Hangul is talking to his biological father, and especially the part where he asks about the son. To me, it kind of read as, it read more as neither of us is going to say it, but we both know that we know. And I think the reason that kind of spoke to me was because his dad makes comments about like, oh, wow, like, you know, he talks about like his height. And then when they talk about the other son that he has, he makes this comment that's like, he's about your height now. And he also, the name of the son is actually Lee Han-young. So he kept the same first syllable for Hangul. So Hangul, Han-young. And it just kind of, to me, even though nobody said it, it felt like it kind of had that air that, like, he knew that Hangul knew as well. And so those things that he said, those small little, you know, things that, like, you know, saying, like, oh, my son's about as tall as you, and telling someone your son's name that don't seem like they have much depth to them, kind of do. And I feel like he wouldn't have necessarily said those things, because he could have just said, like, I do have a son. He's about 20 right now. He didn't have to say the name. He didn't have to make the reference to height. And that could have been just for, you know, like, himself. But I think that was kind of like a nod to, like, acknowledging the fact that he is his son, or his biological son, at least.
I think that's very well observed. Like, I did not put that together, but like talking about things like height, yeah.
Thanks. As a short person, I pay a lot of attention. Oh man, I also really like that in the final phone call when Hangul first calls her, he kind of says like, reporting in, it's Hangul at 5 a.m. this morning. Hangul went, or I don't even know what the time was. I kind of hope it wasn't 5 a.m. because that means Un-chan had to be at his house at like 4 a.m. But he's like, Hangul went in and talked to his father. He did not cry.
Very
like,
good.
Oh yes.
I love the report.
Yeah.
General Un-chan, my feelings remain intact.
I do agree though that last line, let's tell each other everything, that one also hit me. I was like, oof, man.
It's a hard challenge, but like I'm glad that these two are embarking on it.
Me too. Aww.
And I'm very worried that next episode is kind of just gonna be like a big fight. I live in fear of big fight now.
Bum, bum, bum. What's gonna happen? Who knows?
I was really worried because he's driving away so happily at the end of the episode. And, like, I don't know what it is, but every time I see Hangul in a car now, I'm like, he's gonna get sideswiped. He's gonna get sideswiped so hard, and it's gonna be like Downton Abbey all over again, and I'm gonna weep.
They're like, gosh, what cliches have we not put into this series yet? Oh, that's right, the memory loss one. Okay, hit him with the bus.
Oh my god. Please, no amnesia. Let Coffee Prince be the one free amnesia show.
What's gonna happen? Who knows? Oh, man. So, I guess... What were you gonna say?
Quick draw.
I guess we'll just have to see what happens next time.
In episode 14.
Yeah, episode 14. Will Hansung and Yuju ever say what they mean?
Ooh, call them out.
That one was a big one. That one was long. I had to add a lot of extra syllables, but it's okay. I'm not a poet.
How wonderful.
I do know a poet. One.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I do as well.
Wow. We both know and poet. Poet, you know who you are.
Love you, poet.
Love you, poet. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you in the next episode. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Love y'all.
I also love y'all. I just wanted to I wanted to say it too.